こんばんは。フォレックス TV ニューヨークのレミダス3月6日木曜日の為替レポートニューヨークレビューをお伝えします。6日のアメリカ株式相場は大幅反落しました。ダウ工業株30週平均は1月22日以来の安値をつけました。ダウ平均は前日比214ドル60セント安の12,040ドル39セントで終えた。ナスダック総合株価指数は2006年9月以来の安値で取引を終えた。ナスダックは 52.31 ポイント安の 2220.50 で終えた。ニューヨーク外国為替市場で円相場は大幅反発しました。信用リスク不安やアメリカ株の大幅下落を受け、円買いドル売りが優勢となりました。ドル円は前日比1円30銭円高ドル安の102円60銭から70銭で取引を終えた。ユーロ円は前日比80銭円高ユーロ安の157円85銭から95銭で取引を終えた。今朝、欧州中央銀行は政策金利を 4% で据え置きました。トゥルシェー総裁の記者会見後、ユーロは続伸し、対ドルで最高値を更新しました。ニューヨーク市場でユーロドルは 1.5395 ドルまで上昇しました。それでは FX ソリューションズのジョセフ・トレベサーニさんとのインタビューをご覧ください。
Well, let's start out today's interview by talking about the central banks. Earlier in today's session, both the BOE and ECB left rates unchanged. But after Trichet's comments this morning, we saw euro dollar hit another all-time high, and the euro has been hitting record highs against both the US dollar as well as the sterling. So if you could start out by telling us about your concerns for recent euro gains.
You know, traders have now taken an extremely negative and also almost institutionalized the past 2 weeks an extremely negative view of the dollar. You can say, of course, that it's justified because there haven't been any good statistics out of the United States. If we look at the central bank rates, the Fed is going to cut rates again by 50 points at least, I think, this month, probably on the 18th. ECB made it very clear that they are in a neutral stance, and you know what? That's what they meant. And none of these things are supportive of the dollar. However, they're also not very different than things were a month ago or a month and a half ago before this very strong anti-dollar mood took place and took hold. So I don't think we're really seeing anything more here than a simple fact that the speculative urge has really taken hold in the anti-dollar camp and it's winning. So if you're trading, and after all, we have to remember, I mean, traders' business in the markets, all of them, from retail traders all the way up to bank traders, their job is not really to establish an equitable level for the dollar against the euro. Their job is to make money. And clearly, the way to make money trading now is to go long the euro. And so that's what we're seeing.
Okay, Joseph. So speaking of making money, tomorrow morning in the North American session, we have key data coming out, including the employment situation report. So first, if you could give us your forecast for non-farm payrolls and also for the unemployment rate.
Sure. I think non-farm payrolls is going to be pretty poor, and it won't matter really if it's good, and I don't think it will be. It'll probably be, I'm looking for probably between 0 and 15,000 in jobs, maybe a little more, but not much more. I think we will get a revision up in the prior month, which was, I think, down 23. We'll probably get up to about 40 or 50. It'll get closer to trend, but the trend has been clearly down. You know, in all of the comments, there are serious problems with the American economy. It has clearly slowed. Job production has slowed. Consumer spending has slowed. Inflation is up. These are not good things for an economy. And the trends are perhaps more, the direction of the trend is perhaps more worrying than the actual fact, the actual numbers that you're seeing right now. Nevertheless, none of them are actually pointing towards dramatic collapses. The dollar is exactly behaving as if there was a dramatic collapse right around the corner. For the unemployment rate, I will probably see a bump to 5 or 5.1%. Again, these are not great numbers, but they must be put in context, both historical and where we've been.
Well, Joseph, this week has been heavy on the U.S. data front, and we've been seeing plenty of risk aversion in the equity markets. We saw the major indexes close down below 2% on the days. So given that we're seeing a lot of risk aversion and dollar yen falling below 103, if you could tell us the story right now we're seeing in dollar yen and also the yen crosses.
You know, it's interesting. I think the yen crosses that we noted earlier in the year, the yen crosses had been highly speculatively charged. A lot of people were doing in the yen crosses late in last year and probably earlier in this year a little bit too, what they're doing in the euro now. I think, in fact, the hot money, the money that's chasing trading profits, has switched over to the euro. So, relatively speaking, the euro yen has actually calmed down a bit. The dollar yen is doing two things. One, it's suffering from some fall in the euro yen because there are still some long-term positions out there, and there is still, of course, as you noted, risk aversion with the stock markets, and not just the American stock market now. It hasn't hit the news lately, but the Asian stock markets are not doing well at all. They're taking the Nikkei has some serious problems. So there is risk aversion in that, and that, of course, is weighing on the dollar yen through the euro yen. But you also have just plain old dollar weakness, which is definitely affecting the dollar yen. There's no reason that it wouldn't.
以上 FX ソリューションズのジョセフ・トレブサーニさんとのインタビューでした。 ForexTV ニューヨークのレミがお伝えしました。最新の為替情報については ForexTV ジャパンをご覧ください。